We're cleaning one.
Get on board. So push it. Done.
I'd say we got about 3 minutes to go here, folks. Hi, Mark.
Even done?
Hi, Ryan. Jeremy. Jeff, can we hear you better?
I hear you fine.
No, I said, can we hear you better? Say something.
You tell me.
Yeah, that may be a little better.
I just said I could hear me fine, and you tell me.
It's still tough.
How's that? Any better?
That is better.
All right.
Dave gonna set D up.
Say that again.
Was Dave planning to set D up?
Dee's not going to
Dee's-
be here. Dee's not going to be here.
She's not feeling good.
Okay.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, Don. How are you?
Good. How you doing? Good to see you.
Good to be here.
All right, we got about a minute to go here. Let's see, we got everybody. All right, we'll get Mr. Rath on here. We'll get going.
I'm here.
There you go. Well, you think it's your birthday or something? Okay, I'd like to call this meeting of your Newark City Council to order. Janine, please call the roll.
Mr. Barker,
Here.
Mr. Blake,
Here.
Mr. Bub,
Here.
Mr. Fennell,
Here.
Ms. Hall, Mr. Harris,
Here.
Mr. Labutus,
Here.
Mr. Lang,
Present.
Mr. Marmee,
Present.
Mr. Rath.
Here.
We have everyone here or present this evening. Or no, I'm sorry, we have 9 here or present this evening. Ms. Hall is out sick tonight. Next, we have the invocation by Mr. Blake. Mr. Blake?
Thank you, Mr. President. May you bow your heads. Today, we remember the lives lost at Pearl Harbor and all of our fellow Americans who serve in our military today. Lord God, in these troubled times of a health pandemic, help us to rely on your strength to envision and build a stronger, more secure community. Give us more visionaries to lead, to protect our freedoms. Help us to see the best in people so that we can together build a city that enables and calls forth the best in its citizens to expand opportunity and our liberty. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Blake. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Barker? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Barker. Next on the agenda, we have caucus. That's the time for council to discuss anything pertaining to the agenda tonight. We do have 2 resolutions we're going to talk about with Rule 11. Mr. Marmee?
Yes. First, I'd like to make a motion to excuse Ms. Hall.
There's a motion by Mr. Marmee to excuse Ms. Hall.
Second.
Second by Mr. Blake. All those in favor signify by saying aye
Aye.
or thumbs
Aye.
up. Opposed? Thank you. Mr. Marmee?
Yeah, the 2 items as far as Rule 11, one of them is they're both dealing with COVID. One of them is so then we can utilize COVID funds in order to make adjustments to city council chambers that makes it more conducive to the pandemic and also any future type of outbreak or anything, both with technology and distancing. The other one is we received some additional COVID funds, and we want to make sure that we get those appropriated immediately so then we can start encumbering them and getting them to the proper entities that may need them.
Thank you, Mr. Marmee. We'll go ahead and do those under miscellaneous, if that's okay. That way, if anyone wants to comment, they can. Okay, next.
Mr. President,
Yes.
also, I will abstain from ordinance 20-38 this evening.
20-38.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else under caucus? I'm sorry. Okay. Move on to a motion to approve the minutes of our November 16th, 2020 meeting. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Labutus, second by Mr. Bub. All those in favor, give me a thumbs up. Opposed, same sign. That passes. Thank you. Under appointments this evening by Mayor Hall, we have 2 reappointing Service Director David Rhodes and appointing HR Director Bill Spurgeon to the Newark CIC, Community Improvement Corporation, known as the Newark Development Partners. Terms beginning January 1, 2021 and expiring December 31st, 2023. All those in favor, give me a thumbs up. Opposed, same sign. That passes. Thank you. We have 2 reports this evening from standing committees, one from Finance and one from Personnel. Without objection, those will be received and filed. We have one report this evening from city officials. Roger Loomis from the Water Administration. Properties being sent to lien for the past due water, sewer, and stormwater bills in the amount of $14,172.57. And under communications this evening, we have 3. We have a couple emails from Mr. Byrd regarding a barking dog in the neighborhood. We have one from the Ohio Public Utilities Commission, a report by the staff of the PUC of Ohio about the Ohio Power Company. And the third one is from Columbia Gas, a letter regarding the infrastructure replacement program they'll be doing. Without objection, those will be received and filed. Next on the agenda this evening, we have comments from citizens. This is your time to be heard. This is not a debate or a question and answer period with council. This is just your opportunity. If you would like to be heard, please turn your camera on now. I will try to get you here one at a time. And give me a little wave. We're going to start with Mr. Smith here in just a second. Okay, Mr. Smith, you want to go ahead? Give us your name and address for the record. I'm sorry. Unmute yourself, please. Thank
There
you.
we go. Stephen Smith, 237 Violet Court, Newark, Ohio. Been listening to the service committee meeting about the renovation to city chambers, and I think it's a good thing to improve the council chambers for more COVID-friendly social distancing and safety of the public. I'm just concerned about how long that's going to take. Do we have any, is there some sort of timeline that I missed during the conversation?
I did not hear that, Mr. Smith, but I'll see what I can find
Is
out.
there some sort of timeline for the renovations to the city council chambers? They're being discussed, and just wondering what's going to be going on in the meantime while that work is being done.
All right, I will let you know about that.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to say something, but I can't I can't start my video.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. I appreciate it. My name's Dave Lewis, and I'm the superintendent of the Newark City School District. And I
Yes,
just
sir.
wanted to take a minute. I know Warren is here this evening, as well as Julio. And we just wanted to come and thank you for the CARES Act funds that you gave the district. It was well above and beyond our expectation, and we're just greatly appreciative of that opportunity to help our students out with additional technology, especially during this time with COVID. We are looking into starting a one-to-one initiative here, hopefully next school year, and these funds will definitely go a long way to help us with that endeavor. So. Again, thank you on behalf of the entire school district. And Warren, Julio, anything you'd like to add?
Yes, but again, I can't unmute just like you were unable to unmute, but you can hear me.
Hang on a second.
Oh, there we are. Thanks.
There we go.
All right. There you go. Yes, I want to echo Mr. Lewis is saying thank you for the support to the school district. As he mentioned, we are going to start a one-on-one initiative starting next fiscal year, and certainly those funds are going to be very, very good to us to start that project, even if we phase it in all the way K to 12 or by grade levels. But again, we want to thank you all for your collaboration to the school district.
That was Julio, the Newark City School Treasurer. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes. Hey, Don.
Yes.
Gary Babcock here once
on.
again.
Hang on just a second, Gary.
You may not want to look at me.
Well, I know it'll be a challenge, but hang on.
Okay.
So I can't see you. I can't see either. But
Hang on, it'll come up here in a second.
Well, anyhow, I can get started. Mayor Hall, our family has had you in our thoughts and prayers. I graduated with Doug, and I've known the family, met your dad, and sure been praying for y'all. Secondly, am I allowed to air a little bit of a grievance, Don? Or
Yep, go ahead.
okay, I have been approached by 3 loose pit bulls in the last year with the owners. They're just letting them run loose, and it seems like the East End seems to get a little worse. And the last one was quite scary, happened about 2 weeks ago. It's hard for us to even take a walk without mace or a gun or club. Well, in my case, a cane. I think the pit bulls and the loose pit bulls are taking over Newark. And the street people around Newark, I don't know what we're going to have to do to shut our welcoming gate, but it seems like Newark is being overrun right now with street people. I mean, if we don't have it under lock and key and behind a 6-foot fence, especially here in the East End, it just seems to be walking away. So we'll let me get a plan. You know, I'm not one to bring something up without some kind of a plan. So I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
All right, thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Don.
Mr. Weber, would you like to speak?
Yes.
Hey,
Sworn Weber,
Don.
I am a member of the Newark City School Board, and I'd just like to echo what Dave and Julio said. I mean, we really, and I just wanted to let you all know how much we really appreciate the funds that you've given us for our school district. We'll put them to good use and hopefully make you proud of the money that you've given us. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weber.
All right.
I know someone else had said something. Anyone else would like to speak this first section of citizens' comments?
What
Okay.
was the gentleman's name that was talking about pit bulls? What was his name and address?
Gary Babcock. He lives on Emerson. I'm not sure what his number is. Gary, are you still there?
Yes, I'm actually on the corner of Emerson and Philmont.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's another section for citizens' comments after the legislation, so if you have something else, feel free to chime back in. Next, we'll move on to ordinances on the second reading. We have none this evening. Then we'll move on to ordinances on the first reading, 20-38. Janine?
Ordinance number 20-38 by Mr. Marmee to provide for the issuance of $965,000 of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of paying a portion of the city's cost and a portion of the property owner's cost in anticipation of the levy and collection of special assessments for Horns Hill Road sanitary sewer project improvements and declaring an emergency.
20-38 is on its first reading, but it is an emergency. What is your wish?
Mr. President, I make a motion to adopt ordinance 20-38.
Motion by Mr. Marmee,
Second.
second by Mr. Labutus. Is there any discussion on 20-38? Seeing none, Janine, please call the roll to vote.
Mr. Barker,
Yes.
Mr. Blake,
Yes.
Mr. Bub,
Abstain.
Mr. Fennell,
Yes.
Ms. Hall, Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Labutus,
Yes.
Mr. Lang,
Yes.
Mr. Marmee,
Yes.
Mr. Rath.
Yes.
20-38 passes 8-0 and 1 abstention. Next, we move on to resolutions on the second reading, 20-84.
Resolution number 20-84 by Mr. Marmee, a resolution appropriating monies for current expenses of the municipal corporation.
You've heard the second reading of 20-84. What is your wish?
Mr. President, I make a motion to adopt resolution 20-84.
Motion to adopt 20-84 by Mr. Marmee.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Bub. Is there any discussion on 20-84? Seeing none, Janine, please call the roll to vote.
Mr. Barker,
Yes.
Mr. Blake,
Yes.
Mr. Bub,
Yes.
Mr. Fennell,
Yes.
Ms. Hall, Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Labutus,
Yes.
Mr. Lang,
Yes.
Mr. Marmee,
Yes.
Mr. Rath.
Yes.
20-84 passes 9-0. Next, we have resolutions on the first reading, 20-87.
Resolution number 20-87, expedite by Mr. Marmee, a resolution appropriating monies for current expenses of the municipal corporation.
20-87,
Mr. President,
Mr. Marmee.
I make a motion to waive the 2-day reading rule on resolution 20-87.
Motion to waive the 2-day reading rule by Mr. Marmee.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bub. Mr. Marmee.
Yes, we have some payments that need to be expedited, one of which is a payout for an employee who separated from employment. Another one is for some vehicles that we need to make sure that we expedite the bill is due. And then the third one is for a sewer project that we also need to pay the bill immediately. So those need to be expedited, and I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Marmee. Janine, please call the roll to waive the 2-day reading rule.
Mr. Barker,
Yes.
Mr. Blake,
Yes.
Mr. Bub,
Yes.
Mr. Fennell,
Yes.
Ms. Hall, Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Labutus,
Yes.
Mr. Lang,
Yes.
Mr. Marmee,
Yes.
Mr. Rath.
Yes.
2-day reading rule has been waived. Mr. Marmee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Make a motion to adopt resolution 20-87.
Motion by Mr. Marmee,
Second.
second by Mr. Bub. Any other discussion on 20-87? Seeing none, Janine, please call the roll to vote.
Mr. Barker,
Yes.
Mr. Blake,
Yes.
Mr. Bub,
Yes.
Mr. Fennell,
Yes.
Ms. Hall, Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Labutus,
Yes.
Mr. Lang,
Yes.
Mr. Marmee,
Yes.
Mr. Rath.
Yes.
20-87 passes 9-0. Next on the first reading, we have 20-88.
Resolution number 20-88 by Mr. Bub, a resolution authorizing and directing the Director of Public Service to enter into an agreement with specialized legal counsel for the purpose of investigating allegations of workplace harassment and other allegations of possible wrongdoing in the office of the Clerk of Municipal Court.
20-88 will be held for 2 weeks to our next meeting. And finally, tonight, we have 20-90.
Resolution number 20-90 by Mr. Marmee, a resolution appropriating monies for current expenses of the municipal corporation.
And 20-90 will be held for 2 weeks till December 21st to our next meeting. And that concludes the legislation this evening. Thanks for your attention. Next on the agenda, we have our second opportunity for comments from citizens. Again, this is not a debate with council. This is just your opportunity to be heard. Do we have anyone for this second comments from citizens? If you'll go ahead and turn your camera on or say something and we'll get you in line here. Do we have anyone?
I'd like to say something, Nancy.
Okay, Nancy, hang on just a second. We'll get you on here.
See if I can start my video here. Oh, there we go. Oh,
Okay, go ahead.
it's a little weird looking when you put these things behind you. No, I just also wanted to thank.
Give us your name and address again, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Nancy Waylu, 7441 Stewart Road,
Thanks,
Newark,
Nancy.
Ohio. I also, on behalf of the Newark Homeless Outreach, wanted to thank the city. We had put in for a small amount of COVID CARES dollars to buy PPE for the outreach. And so I just wanted to tell everybody who worked on that, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Do we have any city officials this evening? Mr. Hickman.
Very briefly, my name's Tim Hickman, and I was appointed this morning as the new safety director for the city of Newark. I would like to thank Mayor Hall for the opportunity and the confidence that he's shown in me to assume this role. I would also like to thank all the members of council who reached out to me to express congratulations. I look forward to meeting each and every one of you and working as we move forward.
Well, welcome, Mr. Hickman, and thank you. Next, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to congratulate Mr. Hickman on his appointment and offer any service he may need from my office at any time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Honorable Law Director Sasson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Shelby and I will pass.
Thank you, Mr. Sasson. Very nice. Mayor Hall.
Yes, just I want to also thank Tim Hickman for assuming the role of safety director. Tim has been in service with the city of Newark for about 34 years, although he may look younger than that from his view. I'll probably get a chuckle out of that. But he's got an enormous amount of experience and well respected throughout the city of Newark employee community and throughout the city of Newark community. So we welcome him in that. These jobs sometimes aren't, they can be tough at times, and but they can be rewarding as we help move the city forward. And I think you all learn that he'll be there for that to help us just like everybody else has. I want to thank Mr. Rhodes, who was in that interim position. I told him there was kind of good news and bad news. And since he didn't take a pay raise with that at all, the bad news, he was going to be terminated today in that position, but the good news, he wasn't going to get docked in his pay. So he probably, I knew I needed to get a safety director in there before I lost my service director, kind of jokingly. So I appreciate Mr. Rhodes serving both roles for the past several months as we found somebody to fill that, but also it did save the city money, and that is critical in times like this. So anyways, with that, I will pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, he sure looks a lot younger than I do, so we won't even go there. Mr. Barker.
I won't make any comment, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Marmee, for being quiet.
No, just want to, again, welcome Tim. I know we texted and left voicemail earlier, but I'm happy to hear this morning that you were sworn in, and welcome to city administration. And we look forward to working with you as well. I'd like to thank Director Rhodes, as always, for a couple of issues he helped me with. And Councilman Lang and I are still working through some issues with some power that happened over in the 5th Ward that left some of us a little dark a little bit a couple of days in a row. So, and with that, I will pass.
Thank you, Mr. Barker. Mr. Blake.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also want to offer my congratulations and welcome to Mr. Hickman. I don't know you personally, but looking forward to developing a working relationship with you and seeing how we can continue to provide good services to the people of Newark. And I also want to thank David Rhodes for during his time of interim safety director, we were able to touch base on several different issues in the 2nd Ward. So I had good communication with David and always appreciate his assistance. And while I'm on the topic of thanking David Rhodes, I want to thank both him and Joe Paul jointly. Councilman Harris as well. I think it was like 2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks ago. We had an issue out at on the east side, and all of us met up on a few different properties, and I think we got some plans to make some happy faces over there. I also want to thank Roger Loomis. I don't know if Roger's on the call tonight, but publicly want to thank Roger. We have 2 water bottle filling stations now in the city. One is down on the square, and the other one is over by the East Main Street basketball courts. Obviously, they're turned off now for the winter time, but come spring, we'll be able to increase access to clean water for people, and I think that's a positive thing for our community. So thank you, Roger, for installing those. North Schools folks who were on earlier, I'm just glad to see them and glad to hear that anything we can do to help our students, that's always a very positive thing. So thank you for that. And I just want to lastly send out some prayers to the mayor for his recent loss and to him and his loved ones. With that, I'll yield.
Thank you, Mr. Blake. Mr. Bub?
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, Mayor, continued condolences to your family. I would like to welcome new Safety Director Tim Hickman. He'll be a great addition to the administration. Have full confidence in that. And although you do still look young, a reminder, you did coach me in Little League Baseball at Mountain City many years ago. So Jeff Rath, enjoy your birthday. Looks like your Steelers are going to have a win. And I believe with that, I will pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bub. Mr. Fennell?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would also like to welcome Director Hickman. It's nice to see your face. I'm sure we will get to know each other better as the year progresses. So congratulations on that. And also to the mayor, my condolences to your family. You're definitely in my family's thoughts and prayers. So with that, I will yield.
Thank you, Mr. Fennell. Mr. Harris?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mayor, I'd like to say sorry for the loss of your dad. Read the article in the paper about your dad. That was a really nice article. They did a nice job with that. I want to welcome Tim on board. Congratulations. I know you'll do fine because you're a Browns fan. Also, like Jeremy said, I want to thank Dave and Joe Paul and Jeff Hoskins for helping with that situation. Like Jeremy said, hopefully they've got some happy people down this way now. Also want to thank the mayor and Dave for getting that new position for property maintenance, and also for the another police officer. That's exciting news. I think that new position will really help our city. So, and with that, I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Mr. Labutus?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to welcome Mr. Hickman to his new position as safety director. Look forward to working with you. And if anything, let us know. And with that, I will pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Labutus. And Mr. Lang?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to thank the engineering department, Brian Moorhead, Nick Schultz, responded to a few different inquiries I had this week. So thank you both. Tim, welcome to the team. I know you've been with the city for a while, but welcome. Looking forward to working with you. Thank you again to Dave Rhodes. I know you've filled in for a number of positions this year and saved us a lot of money along the way. So thank you. Mayor, my condolences for the loss of your dad as well. So never easy. So we'll be thinking about you. And then last, Mr. Rath, happy birthday, man. With that, I'll pass.
Thank you, Mr. Lang. Mr. Marmee?
Thank you, Mr. President. He looks younger than you because he is a lot younger than you.
You had to add that, didn't you?
And I want to welcome
Tim.
Tim.
Just let that go.
Also, yes, sir, I did. No way. So Tim, welcome to your new position. Our paths have also crossed numerous times throughout history. It also started back down at Mountain City. You were not my coach, but actually I believe you played alongside of my brother and you did some umpiring while I was playing. So welcome to Newark and your new position. I know you've been with the city for a number of years, and I want to thank you for your service there. And I look forward to working with you in your new role. Mayor Hall, my condolences to you. I know how that feels, and my prayers go out to you, and I hope that you and your family get through all of this in a manner that is beneficial for everyone. The memories are great, the times with family, although you don't like to get together for funerals, but sometimes, at least you get to gather with loved ones and get a little bit closer. Need to call a finance committee meeting for 2 weeks. In 2 weeks. Want to wish Jeff Rath a happy birthday. Jeff, you're catching up to Don, but I think he's a distance ahead of you still.
It's close.
And the last thing is I want to bring up Resolution 20-94. That is the miscellaneous COVID money for $209,891.19.
Janine, would you read 20-94, please?
Resolution number 20-94, expedite by Mr. Marmee, a resolution appropriating monies for current expenses of the municipal corporation.
We are using Rule 11 for this. It's been okayed by Mr. Blake and Mr. Marmee. So, Mr. Marmee?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I need to make a motion to waive the 2-day reading rule on resolution 20-94.
Motion to waive the 2-day reading rule by Mr. Marmee, second by Mr. Blake.
Well, since we're using Rule 11, do we have to waive the 2-day reading rule?
I believe we do, Mr.
Oh.
Sassen.
I just thought we vote on it tonight. Okay.
You do need to waive the 2-day reading rule.
Okay. Second.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Blake. Second by Mr. Blake. Mr. Marmee? You've already given us you want to give us anything else before we vote?
I think we need to vote
waiving?
on. Sure. Yeah, we need to make sure that we pass this evening in order to get it into the funds, so then we can start allocating it. Funds have to be spent by the end of the year, so we want to get this as quickly as possible.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Marmee. Janine, please call the roll to waive the 2-day reading rule.
Mr. Barker,
Yes.
Mr. Blake,
Yes.
Mr. Bub, Mr. Fennell,
Yes.
Ms. Hall, Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Labutus,
Yes.
Mr. Lang,
Yes.
Mr. Marmee,
Yes.
Mr. Rath.
Yes.
2-day reading rule has been waived. Mr. Marmee?
Thank you, Mr. President. Make a motion to adopt resolution 20-94.
Second.
Motion to adopt 20-94 by Mr. Marmee, second by Mr. Blake. Any other discussion on 20-94? Seeing none, Janine, please call the roll to vote.
Mr. Barker,
Yes.
Mr. Blake,
Yes.
Mr. Bub,
Yes.
Mr. Fennell,
Yes.
Ms. Hall, Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Labutus,
Yes.
Mr. Lang, Mr. Marmee,
Yes.
Mr. Rath.
Yes.
20-94 passes 9-0. Mr. Marmee?
Yes, we want to also consider Rule 11 for Resolution 2092.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Marmee, second by Mr. Blake. Janine, please read 20-92.
Resolution number 20-92 by Mr. Rath and Mr. Marmee, a resolution authorizing and directing the Director of Public Service to enter into contract without competitive bidding for necessary alterations and upgrades to Newark City Council chambers and declaring an emergency.
20-92 is on the first reading, but it is an emergency. Mr. Marmee's already made the motion. Mr. Blake has seconded, so I believe we're ready to go. Is there any discussion on 20-92? Seeing none, Janine, please call the roll to vote.
Mr. Barker,
Yes.
Mr. Blake,
Yes.
Mr. Bub,
Yes.
Mr. Fennell,
Yes.
Ms. Hall, Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Labutus, Mr. Lang,
Yes.
Mr. Marmee,
Yes.
Mr. Rath.
Yes.
20-92 passes 9-0. Mr. Marmee?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, I am. I will go ahead and yield.
Thank you, Mr. Marmee. And we'll go with the birthday boy, Mr. Rath.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you for all the birthday wishes. The one advantage to getting another year older is to know that I'm still around. I'm very happy about that. Wanted to say about 20-92, Stephen Smith had asked about a timeline about the construction. I do know that we don't have a timeline right now. We don't have specific numbers right now, but Mr. Rhodes did mention that a lot of that was extensions onto existing construction. So it should be a relatively short timeline, I would expect. Again, would welcome Tim Hickman as our safety director. Look forward to working with you. Hear lots of great things about you. Look forward to a long future with you. And then I think that's about it, other than condolences to Mr. Mayor Hall and to your family. And with that, I'll call a service committee meeting for the 21st. And
Thank you, Mr. Rath. Mayor Hall, I'm certainly sorry to hear the news. Your dad was a great guy. He was terrific. So I certainly was sorry to hear that news. Mr. Hickman, welcome. I'm sure you'll do a great job. You've got some big shoes to fill with Mr. Rhodes and Mr. Baum. So I'm sure you'll hit the ground running. Our next, Mr. Rhodes, hopefully you can hear me. If you would reach out to me with some kind of timeline, or actually if you just reach out to Mr. Smith with a timeline for the reconstruction when you have it, that'll keep me from having to get it from you and sending it to him. If you'd reach out to him, I'd appreciate that. And with that, our next committee meeting will be December 21st, 5:45. Next full council, same day, December 31st at 7 p.m. And is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Labutus. Second by Mr. Barker. All those in favor, give me a thumbs up. And with that, this December 7th, 2020 meeting of your Newark City Council is adjourned.